This is 23 July, late afternoon, and I'm standing in the emergency spillway for the Upper Ragged Mountain Dam. And that's the reservoir behind the Lower Ragged Mountain Dam. And this is the earthen dam. It separates the Lower Ragged Mountain Reservoir from the Upper Ragged Mountain Reservoir. The emergency spillway is if you have a huge volume of water, it'll come through this spillway instead of going across the earthen dam and washing it out. And we're heading to the other side to see the pipeline. I'm on the upper earthen dam, and the Ragged Mountain natural area is a beautiful place. I just walked the trail from the parking area near Camp Holiday Trails, but the hiking trail goes all the way around both reservoirs actually. And to my rear, you might be able to hear the is Route 64, and that's a problem when they raise the level of this reservoir. That is a huge problem because the 64, I'm sorry, yeah, that's 64. It never was designed for water being up against it like it will be if the level of this reservoir is raised. Now the Lower Ragged Mountain Dam is around that promontory to the right, and far off in the distance you can see might be some kids swimming. This area is terrific not only for the solitude and the trail system, but for recreation as well. Now, off the top of my head, I believe if they build a new dam out here, they're going to raise the level of the water 45 feet. Which means along this entire shoreline, up 45 feet and then some. All those trees will be taken out all the way around the reservoir. And not only that, but the engineers have a plan to scrape most of the promontories, those places that jut out into the reservoir. They think there's clay under there. They're mistaken. There's not enough clay to build that earthen dam up here, and they're going to find that out. But we'll continue our little hike here. Now I'm up maybe not quite a quarter mile up from the Upper Ragged Mountain Dam, and this seems to be probably a cistern under this with vent stacks there, and the water from Sugar Hollow is pumped up to fill this cistern and then released to flow downhill through that cut in the side of the hill, and we'll get a better look at that shortly. But that is lined when it's running full. Most of that water would end up in the Upper Ragged Mountain Reservoir, but even the water that seeped out would get into the groundwater, the water table, and it would eventually end up in the reservoir as well. So we'll go down a little ways. It's been a while You can tell by the dried leaves, since any water has gone through that sluice way. And this is back 20 meters or so. So the water comes down this gully. That is a 24-inch corrugated piece of culvert. I'll see if I can prove that here. Don't want to disturb any snakes. And that's not quite to the bottom there, 24-inch. Crosses under the road and then down into the upper Ragged Mountain Reservoir. And at some point, somebody replaced a piece of pipe here. So down here it's about an 18-inch. Up a little ways from the dam, it's a 24-inch outside diameter. But there's been a remarkable lack of need for maintenance on this pipeline from Sugar Hollow to Ragged Mountain. I think they've had one major repair in the years since it's been here, which I believe go back to 1927 or so. If there were leaks in the pipe, if it went under a farmer's field, he would see it. He would see water gushing up almost like movies where you saw people striking oil. And there's been none of that. So, this has been a dry summer. It's not unusual. This is not the first time Central Virginia has had brown grass. And that's precisely the reason why we have reservoirs. So we're not dependent upon river flow, surface flow, for our drinking water. And we have 3 major reservoirs, and we have a couple others we can tap into. So I'm in construction. We had a record-breaking wet winter, and every time that happens, we have a dry summer. And every time we have a dry winter, we have a wet summer, because I have scheduled my work accordingly. Can't do much outside work, foundation work, or footers, groundwork, framing, when it's very wet outside. So this is a normal variation that we're into here. And we got a tropical storm about a week, less than a week away, which that's what usually breaks these dry periods in Virginia, the remnants of a tropical storm.